Hey Lisa, we're working late today, so you don't need to prepare any supper for me.
What? You're working late again? What time do you think you'll be home then?
I told you this before, but it's always hard to know. My boss is taking me out for drinks and it's not in my control. I'm sure we'll be done by the last train.
You've been coming home late a lot lately.
It's not like I'm doing this on purpose. Going out for drinks after work is part of my job. Sucking up to your boss is important if you want to move up in the world.
I guess that's true. But I hear your coworker Brady doesn't come home too late. I bumped into his wife the other day and she told me that he hasn't had to work overtime at all lately.
Oh yeah, he's given up on getting any promotions, that's why. I'm guessing he's happy staying where he is forever. He's already labeled as useless at a company. That's why he's never invited to come out after work.
But isn't it a good thing that he gets to spend more time with his family? I don't think it's necessary to go out every night.
Well, I'm not always going out with the same people. I want to create a broad range of personal connections. It's especially important that I try really hard right now. This could decide whether I have an opportunity to get a promotion in the future.
Okay, I guess I understand then. Just make sure you don't drink too much.
Of course, I know that.
I know you can't help it today, but it would make me very happy if you tried coming home early more often. It's hard for me to be alone with your mom all the time.
Why? What do you mean?
I just told you about this the other day. Were you not paying attention?
Oh, is it about you feel like she's picking on you?
Yeah. For instance, she made me clean the entire storage room this morning. I can't help but to think that she's doing these things just to be mean.
What other things did she do to make you feel that way?
Well, she made me clean the storage room thoroughly last week as well. Despite that, I had to take out everything and wipe her again today for no apparent reason. It wasn't even dirty to begin with, and she hardly ever even uses that room anyway. I think she's just running out of places for me to clean.
Why don't you just make up some excuse and say no? You're only stressed out because you take things too seriously all the time.
But she would bother me all day if I didn't do as she says. She says things like, "Oh, I shouldn't have let you marry my son." Or, "I wish I could trade you off with a younger and more beautiful wife for my son." What's more, today she told me that because I'm in my 30s now, I'm old and hideous.
Well, isn't that how it works for every mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship? I'm sure everyone deals with these things. It's not like you're the only one with this problem, so don't worry about it.
How could you say things like that? Who am I supposed to trust if you're not even on my side?
Don't say things like that, I'm not picking sides. It's my mother we're talking about.
But it's really hard for me to hear her talk to me this way every single day. I'm trying my hardest to get her approval, but I think she's already made up her mind from the beginning that she doesn't like me. She's constantly making me do random, unnecessary tasks and talking down to me. Do you realize how difficult this is to deal with every day?
What do you want to do then?
When you're around, she doesn't treat me that way. That's why I want you to be home more often.
Well, I have to work, so it's not possible.
I know that. I guess I'd just like you to not go out after work as often, if you can. Or maybe you can try talking to your mom about this?
I don't know. I feel like I've been making her out to be a horrible person.
Well, she is picking on me.
It's not like she's hitting you. Just don't think about it, you're making it a way bigger deal than it is.
Can you say the same thing if this was happening to you?
I don't think it would bother me. I'll have to go through way harder things than this at one time. I can't even keep track of how many times I've been talked down to. But even then, I'm expected not to complain and keep a smile on my face. It annoys me that I have to listen to these types of complaints when you are mostly able to relax at home.
It's fine, just forget it.
I'm glad you finally understand how selfish you're being. You have to realize how fortunate you are. Everything is provided for you, and the only thing you have to do is deal with my mom.
It wasn't my choice to quit my job. You were the one who asked me to quit and stay home with your mom.
But you ultimately made that decision. Don't complain about the choices you made for yourself. You should just appreciate the fact that you can stay home and not have any responsibilities. I don't want to hear about this ever again. Just solve these issues on your own.
Hey, Max! How could you do this to me? Please, unlock the door and let me in.
I told you I'm not letting you in the house anymore. I will ship all your stuff to your parents' house. You can sign the divorce papers later. Wait until you hear from me.
On top of suddenly asking me for a divorce, you kicked me out without notice. How could you do this to me?
Well, I'll let you have your personal items like your wallet.
Even so, shouldn't we at least talk about it?
What do you mean? You don't want to get divorced? Even though we barely see each other lately?
That's because you hardly ever come home. I would be lying if I said it never crossed my mind. But even then, isn't it wrong to ask me to leave without first talking about things?
It's hard to live in the same house as someone you are divorcing. Why do I have to keep taking care of you until you're ready to leave?
I didn't ask you to support me. All I wanted was to have a proper amount of time to gather my things. I don't think it's normal to kick your spouse out like that without even talking about things first.
It's meaningless to talk about it when all I want is divorce. We will see each other when you sign the divorce papers. Isn't that good enough?
How are you planning to meet up? You know my parents' home is really far from here, right?
Well, you can travel back here when it's time.
Seriously? How selfish are you?
Well, if you don't like it, then why don't you stay at a nearby hotel until the papers are ready? But don't even think about asking me to pay for it.
Is the reason you're divorcing me because there's someone else?
What are you talking about?
Well, your mother told me. She said that you will definitely bring home a young, pretty girl one of these days.
That's just something my mom made up.
Well, you had been staying out often. Sometimes even overnight. You said you'd been sleeping in the office, but I have trouble believing that.
Well, I was actually sleeping at a cheap motel near work.
I don't need to hear your lame excuses. In your suit pants pocket, I found a receipt from a woman's clothing store. And I noticed the credit card bill had charged for an expensive hotel. I'm pretty sure you even went on an overnight spa trip. So you're divorcing me because there's someone else, right?
Where's your proof?
Well, all those credit card bills and stuff.
That doesn't prove anything. I just stayed at the nice hotel and went to the spa trip on my own. Aren't you desperate? Now that we're getting divorced, you're just making things up to get alimony from me. It's exactly this type of behavior that is causing you to be dumped.
If you're so perfect, show me your smartphone.
Why would I do that?
If you're so clean, you have nothing to hide, right?
That's invading my privacy. You're such a joke. But I guess I'm glad you're this way. It makes me even happier that I'm divorcing you.
What would you do if I said I don't want a divorce?
Then we'll have to fight on a court. Either way, I don't want to live in the same house as you anymore. Pleasant every time I see you. I have zero feelings for you anymore. And yet I'm giving you a fair split of our assets. So there's no reason for the courts not accept this divorce.
You talk about a fair share, but there's hardly anything to begin with. All the money that we had saved, you wasted on unnecessary things.
Couldn't be helped, it was all necessary purchases. Think about what the neighbors might think with you just standing there. Please leave the property now. I'm never gonna let you in the house.
You're a horrible jerk until the end.
Didn't you mold me into this person? You clearly didn't do a good job performing your duties as a wife. My mother is saying she can't wait for me to find a wife that is way better than you.
Karma is gonna get you too badly if you keep acting this way.
What possible bad thing could happen to me by breaking up with such a useless wife? Maybe you should worry about yourself. Aren't you worried about whether a simple housewife like you can even get a proper job again?
I can always find work as long as I'm not too picky.
Yeah, I guess you can always find minimum paying jobs. Well, we just aren't made for each other. So stop with this nonsense and leave already. We're getting divorced because you were a bad wife. Just know that you aren't suited for marriage. And go on with your life with that lesson in mind. Hey, Lisa, it's been a while.
What? Max?
Yeah, it's me. Happy to see you the other day. So that's why I thought I'd reach out and say hello.
Is that so? And? Is there anything else? I'd appreciate it if you didn't bother me again for no reason.
Yeah, you don't need to be so cruel. I'm your ex-husband for Pete's sake.
Yeah, ex-husband. We're just complete strangers now. I deleted your contact info and all our past messages. Because I have nothing to say to you anymore.
Well, why didn't you block me or something, then?
That's because I completely forgot that you even existed. I didn't even think to block you.
You don't need to be so harsh. I do feel bad about how I acted during our divorce. I realize now that it was a bit too one-sided.
I don't care about that at this point.
Oh, by the way, did I hear it right that you're working in the hospital now?
Why, is that where you saw me?
Yes, you don't have any nurse's license or anything, so I've heard that it's a tough job. How you liking it?
I told you it's none of your business. Stop texting me if you don't have any specific reason. I will make sure to block you this time. And I will ignore you even if I bump into you at the hospital. I expect you to do the same. Bye then.
Wait! I do have something specific to tell you.
What is it?
Do you want me to support you financially?
What?
I'm sure you were tired of being used by nurses. Making ends meet every month? Wouldn't it be nice if you can go back to being a simple housewife?
I don't understand what you're trying to say. I never, ever want to live with you ever again.
Well, you can commute then.
Commute?
Mom got dementia, so I need you to come take care of her. She's been really bad lately, and it's getting too much for me to handle by myself.
Is that so?
I know we broke up, but she used to be your mother-in-law. Mom is also saying that she'd happily accept help if it's yours. I would include free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. How's that?
You are joking, right? Nobody would ever accept volunteer work like that. Besides, my mother-in-law passed away 3 years ago.
What? Passed away? You are the one with the jokes. She's very much alive.
I said my mother-in-law, meaning my husband's mother.
What? Are you married?
Yep.
It's only been 6 years.
You mean it's already been 6 years?
But you said your mother-in-law passed away 3 years ago. Does that mean you were already married 3 years ago?
Yes. Is that a problem?
Yeah, you were not as innocent as I thought.
What? Are you kidding me? You've got some nerve. You're the one who quickly remarried someone right after we got divorced.
You knew about my marriage?
Yeah, all the neighbors were talking about it. Saying you got a new wife right after you kicked me out. I also know that you guys broke up. I guess they thought I would like to know that as well.
Mom and I talked, and the young wife was completely useless, and I regret breaking up with you.
Well, I have zero regrets. I'm even happy that we broke up.
You don't need to pretend to be tough. He's the kind of husband who's still making you work after all. And he married you and you're already past your prime. He must be a miserable old man who can't even provide.
Who do you think you are?
Why don't you just leave the loser and come back to me? I will never make you work just to make ends meet. You can go back to doing simple house chores.
I've had enough of your nonsense. You are the old, miserable man who has no ability to provide for the family. Besides, I'm not working at the hospital.
What? But I saw you wearing an apron and helping an elderly person in a wheelchair. I also saw you talking to the hospital staff.
I was just taking my husband's relative out for a stroll. My husband owns that hospital. Of course I talk to the staff from time to time.
What? Your new husband is a doctor then?
That's right.
That's a pretty big hospital too.
Well, yeah, big enough to have an inpatient's ward.
I see. Then please let my mum be admitted to the hospital.
Don't nursing home for her. That's not what we do at our hospital.
I'm sure you can do something about it if it's just one person.
It doesn't work that way. Quit joking around and look for a proper institute for her. What kind of person thinks to ask his ex-wife to take his mother-in-law in because you can't care for her yourself? I'm worried about your mental state.
I can't even afford any nursing homes. I have to pay a lot of alimony and my last wife loved expensive things. On top of that, because my mom isn't feeling well, she caused a lot of trouble with people and I'm still paying compensation for the damage she caused.
That has nothing to do with me.
Please help me! I haven't been able to go to work lately. And the house is a mess as well. I can only ask you for something like this.
Weren't you the one who ignored me when I asked you for help when your mother was picking on me? Didn't you say that it's my fault for taking things too seriously? And on top, you cheated on me and kicked me out saying we're getting a divorce. So what makes you think that I'd want to help you after all that? How many times do you have to stomp all over me until you're satisfied?
I don't want to stomp all over you, it's just that you are the kindest person I know and Mom also agrees that you were the best wife for me.
It's too late for anything and I will never forgive either of you. You guys deserve this. A mother-in-law whose only joy in life is to pick on her daughter-in-law and a garbage husband who cheats on his wives. No one would ever want to help people who are like that.
Lisa, I'm sorry, I really am. It would make a big difference if you could help even just a little bit. Please help me take care of her. I promise I will come up with a solution to make it worth your while.
The reason why nobody's willing to help you right now is because of how you have treated others in the past. You did it to yourself. So deal with it.
If I could deal with this myself, I wouldn't be asking. I've never paid any attention to what it takes to run a house. All I know is my work. Please, help me. I will do anything. I'll even grovel at your feet if that helps. Please help.
Stop whining and go ask for advice from City Hall. They will help even a piece of garbage like you. Oh, and one last thing. I wasn't a bad wife who isn't suited for marriage. Because I'm happily married right now. My only mistake was marrying a defective garbage husband. Right after I sent him that message, I made sure to block him this time. And apparently he caused a scene by storming into my husband's hospital and demanding to see me. Of course, we called the police and had him removed from the property. We made him promise that he will never come near me nor the hospital. And we also informed his boss about the incident as well. That boss is actually Brady, the colleague Max used to look down on. I guess it ended up being Max who never received any promotion. I really regret marrying a loser like him, but I'm trying to think that I have my happiness right now because of the past. I have no idea what happened to them since then, but I happened to walk by their house a few years later, and it looked very run down, like it was in ruins. Anyway, it's none of my business how they are anymore. I just want to always remember to appreciate my husband, my family, and people around me for loving and supporting me, and I want to cherish this happiness in life forever.